Just when I thought I was going to focus on store championships by playing top tier decks like Kate and Nerf Hub, guess what? My brain comes up with some really weird combo that I think can work due to the sheer surprise factor that it brings to the table. So I'm going to present to you my idea, which is a Blue Sun, vegan Blue Sun deck. That's right, no Scorched Earths, no flat lines, and that might just be the key to winning store championships. Now, the thing I ask myself is, what is the best way to counter all current runner archetypes, all the popular ones? Well, mostly Andromeda, both the Stealth Andromeda and the usual Breaker Andromeda, as well as Prepaid Kate. And then I look at all the eyes. All the runners have some sort of solution for the common eyes like Archer and Tollbooth, but when it comes to big barriers, all of them have to spend a lot of credits. There is no efficient way to break big barriers, so that's why you play Blue Sun. And the problem with Blue Sun is that you only have 3 Oversight AIs in your deck. Well, what if there were 6 Oversight AIs in your deck? You run 3 Archive Memories to recycle all those Oversight AIs, and you keep raising big Tollbooths, big walls non-stop in front of the runner's face. Perfect solution. So I'm going to play a Glacier, very taxing Blue Sun deck. And I'll see how it holds up. I'm up against an Andromeda, so you can be sure that this is a semi-competitive, if not very much competitive game. And I pull a Timmy off here. If you've watched the World's 2014 coverage, first turn, score Hostile Takeover, knowing that they won't risk doing anything too crazy like an account siphon on first turn. If he attempts to siphon me here, I can easily double Scorch him if I have 2 Scorched Earths in hand. Of course I don't, but, well, it's part of the bluffing game. You are not supposed to keep this hand most of the time, especially when you have a criminal up on the other side. But, well, I took the risk and it didn't pay off. He did pull off an account siphon, so that was very bad for me. My mandatory draw was into an ice, so I immediately played that out and clicked for a credit because I was preparing to restructure the next turn. Unfortunately, I can't put a Hive on R&D. I cannot afford to get siphoned down again, neither can I afford to get leg work. So, yeah. This deck does not react very well to account siphon because there are no Scorched Earths in it. It's vegan Wayland, remember? So as a result, I have to concede the agendas on R&D, and it's getting worse and worse because he has an R&D interface out. Thankfully, he didn't see a single agenda. That could have been really bad for me. Alright, so I draw into my curtain wall, and here's a dilemma. If I rest the curtain wall on R&D, my HQ is open for the picking. So what I do here is to maintain rather airtight R&D. By only drawing the top card of R&D, I make sure that in his subsequent runs, he'll only see 1 new card each time. Yeah, and I try to get a daily business show going, but he trashes it promptly. Daily business show is so important in, in a lot of decks actually. For one influence, it's so good. But in Blue Sun especially, because it allows you to draw your combo pieces much faster. And by combo pieces, I mean your 6 Oversight AIs. Alright, so my luck finally runs out. He accesses the 3rd card, turns out to be a Corporate War. And I mandatorily draw into an Oversight AI, so that's one of the 6 cards I'm looking for. Well, an Archive Memories at this point is pretty useless. It is sitting in my hand right now. But hey, once I'm done with this Oversight AI curtain wall, I can just recur the Oversight AI, and that's exactly what I'm planning to do. And this is how you amass a crazy credit lead if they cannot contest your curtain wall, which he clearly cannot do in this case. So I can easily starve him out. Unfortunately, he has John Masnori up, so he's actually getting some efficient runs going, and he installs a Fairy, no big deal. I don't really have too many dangerous sentries. And so, my first click, reinstall Curtain Wall, fish out Oversight AI, and use it again. So yeah, this is the most powerful part of Blue Sun, the ability to gain 13 credits in 2 clicks. Why don't you do that again and again and again when you can? So, Splash 4 Archive Memories. Easy solution. Here he attempts to run my HQ and he gets hit by a Hive, which is very bad news for him because he has John Masnori, so he's forced to clear the tag. At this point, he's still unaware that I'm playing Vegan Wayland, so I think this will be very good in the Swiss rounds if I'm bringing this to a store championship. No one will expect that I don't have Scorched Earth. Some people might even preemptively play a +3 out. That will slow them down. So, of course, you have to ask yourself, I have 37 credits in my credit pool now. That's good and all, but what are you going to do with those credits? If you don't have Seesaw Scorched Earth, how are you going to leverage those credits? Well, I think you know the answer. There's an Ash sitting in my hand, and that's exactly how I plan to score my agendas. You can run through my remote server once, but can you do so twice while still trashing the Ash? I hope you can, because otherwise I'm just going to score agenda after agenda, and you can't do anything about it. So he gets his Corroder out, which is a very important card because it basically breaks all my ice. Unfortunately for him, he only has 3 credits. What's he going to do with that? Can't do much, I say. And another very good thing about not playing the Sea Scorch combo is that you're not super reliant on drawing Seesaws and Scorched Earth. It's actually very hard to assemble the entire combo without the aid of Scored Atlas. Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest weaknesses when playing Flatline Wayland is just too inconsistent. So we negate that by requiring only one combo component, which is the Ash. Once you have an Ash, you can start scoring away. Not to mention that everyone's playing plus crit nowadays, so even if I wanted to play like Punitive, for example, it's not going to be really good in this meta. One of the biggest reasons why I did so well in the regionals last year was because I managed to accurately predict the meta. A lot of NBNs were being played, and Gabe does very well against NBN. But enough about that. Back to the game. Archives is still open. I haven't actually drawn into too many eyes, so he's actually getting pretty efficient runs. Every turn, 1 free credit and click. 1 free credit and card for the cost of a click. But I'm pretty confident he won't be able to contest this Atlas. He'll need to run twice. He runs, and I res the Hive, easily keeping him out. The Hive is just there to to deflect an inside job. But looks like I don't even need it. The most important thing is that if I can keep the Ash safe, which means prevent him from trashing the Ash, it can be reused for scoring future agendas, and that is very crucial. So yeah. Here I bounce off the Hive because actually I don't know why I bounce off the Hive. Probably to put more to give more uncertainty, because if I leave the Hive on the remote, he can more accurately predict how many credits he needs to run through the server. Anyway, so he slowly assembles his rig, and turns out he's playing Stealth ND. So as I said, this is actually a tier 1 archetype. It's actually pretty strong. And yeah, it shouldn't be trifled with because it can break Archer very easily. However, in my deck, that won't be the case because I run Corporate Troubleshooter as well. And that can troubleshoot the Archer into astronomical levels, especially when I have a credit lead. So this is the other outlet where I can just blow all my credits and cause a major setback to the runner. If I do manage to land superpowered Archer against him, he pretty much loses the game instantly. Because if you've seen any of those Stealth ND decks floating around on the interwebs, you'll notice something. They don't have any form of recursion. They only run one of each Stealth Breaker. And yeah, they have no breaker redundancy. So if I can snipe off his Corroder and or Refractor, he's dead. He cannot make any successful runs through my server. He might as well concede the game. So that's what I'm aiming to do, and I think it's pretty easy to bait him to doing that. All he needs to do is to declare around HQ, and he's doomed. And the only counter to it is for him to get more credits than me. The only way he can do that is by account siphon, and that requires around HQ. So basically, he's not going to get anything done. The other way is to get a Sneak Door Beta successfully, but Stealth ND does not run Sneak Door Beta. There's not enough memory for that. So, yep, keep that in mind. Now, he does manage to trash my Curtain Wall, but I made sure that in doing so, even though he's able to do so, he cannot trash the Ash in the server. So I can still use it to score my future agendas. And even if he somehow managed to trash the Ash, I have an Atlas counter. It doesn't fetch Scorched Earth because there's no Scorched Earth, but it can fetch Ash or Corporate Troubleshooter for scoring purposes. Alright, so I rebuilt my entire server. He might have burned my Curtain Wall, but that basically cost him his entire credit pool, so now he's completely broke. This is a perfect scoring window, but I'm still afraid of inside job, so I'm just going to build up my server first, score the next turn. Better play safe than be sorry. And anyway, given that he's tagged right now, he cannot play security testing. he cannot play KT Jones, he's not going to get a lot done. So right now, he's in a very desperate position, and what he does, inside job over R&D. Well, I'll let that happen. There's nothing much I can do about it. And he does score a hostile takeover in the process, bringing him up to 3 agenda points. Over to me. Restructure, good to see, and it's time to score the agenda. He cannot contest this. Yeah. He has only 1 credit. I mean, how many credits can he gain in a span of 4 clicks? This is the power of Blue Sun. You can possibly contest 1 curtain wall, but when I start repeating the curtain walls and recur them turn after turn after turn, with archive memories, with Atlas tokens, you can't keep up with it. You really can't. It is in your best interest to keep up with it, but yeah, it's to your loss. Anyway, I finally baited him to running HQ, and he's in a whole lot of trouble. I didn't even need the corporate troubleshooter because he was completely broke. He couldn't use the ferry. This is very careless play, and as a result, I trash basically all his breakers but the refractor. Usually I would trash the refractor here, knowing that he cannot recur it, but since I haven't seen a single Enigma, Enigma's the only code gate in my deck, so I'll just leave the refractor on the table, no harm. More importantly, I trash his corroder, which is the most important breaker, because the majority of my eyes are barriers. So I basically shut him out of R&D, I shut him out of my remote. There's no way he can get through unless he plays inside job. So yeah, maybe I should have iced up the inside job. Iced up the R&D. But he'll only see 3 cards, and he needs 4 points. Although he does get to access 3 cards, which is a problem. He accesses 2, and he wins the game. Ouch. Well, yeah, that was a very unfortunate loss on my part. He got slightly lucky with the accesses. I wouldn't say too lucky, because he did have 3 RD interfaces out after all, and I really should have protected myself against the inside jobs. So that was my mistake right there. I could have easily spent 1 click to devote just 1 ice onto R&D, and that would have completely blown his game away. I didn't do that, and I deserve to lose. I had the remote well locked down between the ash and the curtain wall, so I shouldn't have worried about him sieging my remote at all. But as you can see, this deck is very powerful. Even against high income decks like prepaid voice pad Lucky Find Kate, they still can't really cope with the fact that they have to pay 7 credits every time they want to deny me my oversighted curtain wall. And that is pretty huge. Really, the only easy way to counter this onslaught of oversight AIs is with David, and even then, I'm more than happy to exhaust your entire David for 1 of my curtain walls, because I still have 5 more curtain walls waiting to be oversighted. Can you recur your David that many times? So yeah, probably not. I think this deck is pretty viable. It really exploits the power of Blue Sun. However, I need to find more efficient ways where I can dump my credits and convert them into a victory for me. I'm quite interested in making this deck work. It could very well make its way into my store championship deck list. Thanks for watching.